So, here we go. Greetings, beloved friends. Namaste. And welcome to my today's talk. May it benefit you, bring you something you can use, and, well, let's have some fun with it too. I mean, these are kind of big events for me I'm going to talk about, but there's nothing so big in the world that we cannot laugh about, right? Sooner or later, anyway. I'm at home on a different planet, in another dimension. And there's more of us here on Gaia like that. So many you wouldn't believe. And for some of us, it's been rather difficult here. So, to help make it a little bit easier, or a lot easier, is why I'm making this video, this talk. One of the reasons, anyway. There is quite a lot of us going public with our experiences already, but I'm thinking perhaps a bit more would be even better. So, and of course, whatever I do to help spread consciousness, deepen consciousness, expand consciousness. The consciousness that is the same for all races, all entities, all star systems and galaxies, for all beings, wherever you're from. Originally, we're all from and in that one beingness which we are. So please accept my talk in that spirit. I will now talk in this file, and God willing in this series, of which this is the first part, or introduction to, about my own encounters with what some call extraterrestrial entities or realms, other dimensions and their beings, my own travels to angelic realms, other planets and suns, different timelines and different times, healing centers or facilities around the earth and elsewhere, etc. It would be a longish list if I were to name all, and besides, some names can be interchangeable. For example, a Pleiadian may appear as an angel to some, or a ship with a joyously conscious extraterrestrial crew could easily be called a place of healing, even though to a human perhaps that doesn't always appear to be its primary purpose as such. But come to think of it, it actually is. For me anyway. Also a bit tricky is the division into chapters or parts according to races and events, because they all are interconnected and often intermingled, if there is such a word. Well, there is now. For example, a ship that moved in a unique way and signaled me and others through me appeared in the center of the Orion constellation, I think it was, conspicuously just one night, if memory serves, before my so-called first contact with my Pleiadian family. And the first visit, that first visit to the Pleiadian craft was almost immediately. Same or next night followed with the not too pleasant visit by unfriendly reptilian creatures who came to test me probably, or perhaps they didn't care much for my contact with the high-vibe Pleiadian people from the future. Anyway, what is most common, what is common to almost all of these stories, events, descriptions and depictions, is that they are all my own, if there is such a thing, and there isn't really, in my view, because individuality is sort of a dream. We're all expressions of one life, streams of one life. But as far as it goes, they are my personal experiences. I hope to say later in this vid something about my other reasons and hopes for this personal public disclosure, but first let me tantalize you a little with an overview of what I intend to talk about in this series. which so far is not really prepared all that much. And so if some of you would like to make a request or express a wish, what you would like me to talk about or focus on from this area of unusual contacts or not too well publicized contacts with extraterrestrials, other dimensions, other realms, etc. The word paranormal comes to mind. Please do so, and if I like it, if it resonates, or if there's many of you asking the same thing, then I may include it. So the order in which I list these encounters is my personal preference, what feels most important at the moment I start with. And they are wow, even my voice is changing. The white light Pleiadians, very close to my heart. My family, they introduced themselves as white light Pleiadians, or not with words, but that's how I saw them and see them. And it took quite a number of my visits to the ship, where I go without my roughly vibrating physical body, before their physical appearance began to interest me. They radiate white light, they appear as white light to me and also to others, as I found out, or one other at least. Or maybe it would be better that the light doesn't radiate from them or from their bodies, but that they are the light. Their physical body is more like something accompanying the light. And the light is more permanent, it's more solid in a sense. So what was most interesting for me, beyond my interest in their physical appearance, was their kindness, friendliness, wisdom, and their great, totally killing, but also very healing humor, fun, and the events on the ship and their messages, that seemed much more important. They came from the future, and I'll talk more about them in, I think, the next part. I'll just say now that one of the most interesting topics that came up was free energy, 0-point energy. I will talk about this later. It's a big topic, but I don't know how much I will say about it, but I think I will say something. Well, I can say the main thing right now. You are the free energy, right? I am the free energy. That's the key point. But, of course, there's perhaps a bit more to it. Another group of beings, and perhaps even more their realm, is rainbow-colored or multicolored spherical beings. I feel at home there. If it's their home, or if they just constructed the place for me, or if my mind constructed it, well, of course, whatever, doesn't matter. But I went there when I was about 16, suddenly, and the time that I was there was apparently much, much longer than the time that my physical body spent on Earth. I came back almost immediately, but I remember spending quite a lot of time there. My body in the meantime was functioning on Earth, doing things, and I was completely unaware of it. I came back expecting the body to be lying on the floor or something, having to explain things, or maybe waking up in an ambulance, but wasn't the case. The body was standing and talking, and I just returned into it. Now, those two are somehow most important, well, in a way. Then there's Sirius, and the planets there, beings in the oceans. They have been important for me since ever I can recall. When I was stretching my back and raising my arms, even sort of unconsciously, I would sort of try to point at Sirius. and well, sometimes to other specific places, but Sirius is important, and there's a number of experiences I would like to talk about later. Also Orion and Andromeda, Pleiades, of course, and others. Somewhat, or as if a different area is my communication or meetings and cooperation with angels and angelic beings. Just for now I will mention one of them, that's the angel of beginnings and endings. That's how I sensed him as masculine. That's how he introduced himself to me. He didn't seem to care much for the name that people gave him, the angel of death, or even Azrael perhaps, although that's probably better. But what seemed important to me, to him, is that there's also the beginnings and endings. Endings are beginnings, and he was, I mean, all these masters, all enlightened beings, in my experience, whether they are embodied as humans or from elsewhere, they are hilarious, right? The humor is one of their teaching tools. But the so-called angel of death was really, really funny, really killing me with his jokes. To switch sides, so to speak, even though that's not exact, I might mention demons to make the list complete. I mean, it's not a topic that I would enjoy too much, but also because I had memories of being a demon myself in the past, which wasn't too nice. But actually, it was interesting. There was something interesting about it. We were having fun, actually. I mean, I wouldn't want to go back to that if it indeed was my personal experience, but it was interesting. My angelic memories are stronger, fortunately. But there was a sense of belonging together. We were working together, interestingly for me. And it was like a friendly team of demons. I mean, doing some job that obviously perhaps had to be done. I'm not making apologies for the actions of demons, nor for myself at the time. But there are some interesting issues connected with it, and all my encounters with demons were actually interesting, teaching me something. And since I opened this topic now a bit wider, then I will also say that, just in case you're afraid a little bit, that love, I mean, there are many tools, many protective rituals, energies, but the strongest one is love. Knowing that you are love and being love, focusing on love, then you are invisible, literally invisible to the angels. I mean, to the angels you're visible, to the demons. And if they are attacking you and you are really focused on being love, they don't see you. They can walk 1 meter, which I experienced, or half a meter from you, and they don't see you. So I touched also the topic of past lives now. I might talk about that further. That includes also a memory of a battle on a spaceship in which I killed an enemy, and I came back from that vision feeling pretty bad. I'll come back to that later. Venus, Venusians, my beloved Venus, the Sun and other planets in this solar system especially, and some also outside the solar system in this galaxy, and a few outside the galaxy I will talk about, and their guardians. What else? Well, just a little bit more on this topic. Perhaps most planets were beautiful and pleasant. I'm not talking about the physical aspects only, but how people live there, or the beings. Very harmonious, most places. But I also wanted to know if there is a place darker than Earth, and I have done a few trips to those places. So the next group, brown-skinned reptilians, both so-called good and bad, mostly female or appearing as female, visited me a few times, quite a few times on Earth, even though I also had some visions of their environment which might not have necessarily been on Earth. So I will talk about that. The next topic is technology, which, of course, far beyond the current, well, I'm gonna call it primitive, Earth technologies, at least those that are publicly available. So these more advanced technologies have always been, since I remember, since I was a child, in my memories and in my visions. And these include thought-controlled spaceships, and vehicles, and computers, portals, underwater habitats or cities, and so on. So let's see. Is there anything that I have forgotten? I will also talk about the strangest creature and the strangest planet in the whole universe that I have seen, and I'm gonna leave it as a surprise. But of course, some of you will readily guess what place, what race I'm talking about. A very interesting one. So let's see, have I forgotten anything? Time travel, I'll talk about that a bit. The astral hospitals or healing places, I might already have mentioned in this talk briefly. Fairies, beings smaller than an atom, or so they appear to me. Possibly elementals. And since I'm talking about meetings and encounters, I mean, if this can be called an encounter at all, then the encounter with the source, with the mother of all universes, or in other words, the encounter with oneself, that's the best and most interesting, most useful, and most lasting encounter of all. So I wonder how much can be said about that. So that's the end of the interesting part of this file. Well, hopefully I'm kidding. I mean, because now I want to talk about my reasons for this disclosure, for this presentation. I'm talking about this, well, in order to share, to help the big full disclosure, to send these opening energies there, so that people find out what's going on, what's being hidden from them, even though, of course, it's mostly that people don't want to see it. Nobody can hide it, really, even though they're trying. So I would like to see that happen, and I'm hoping that this will help in some way. Now, let's see what else. I mean, I have some notes here, but I'm not reading all of it. Well, a big reason is that I want to help those who are ashamed or worried about their unusual visions, unusual encounters, unusual friendships, who would like to share perhaps, but feel afraid to talk about them, or even to admit them to themselves as their real experiences. I mean, I would like to talk later also about what is real, but not perhaps today. So I would say it's normal to have unique visions, knowledge, memories, and experiences. And so I would like to help those who are afraid. I'm not saying that everybody has to tell everyone about everything, you know. Not everybody has to publish. But if this reluctance is based on fear, then I don't think that's the best motivation. I mean, it's normal to travel outside the planet. It's normal, it's okay, it's healthy, it's natural to meet spirits and other beings, and to see, to know that you're not alone in the room, even though physical eye doesn't see anyone else. It's natural and not shameful at all to see things that some others might still laugh or snigger at. I know for sure that there are many people in daily or weekly or frequent anyway, or even in constant contact with entities that some don't even seem to believe in. I know people, well, including me, who meet new and apparently strange beings or travel to such realms every day, even if they don't necessarily go public with it. And so I want you to feel happy and grateful about your experiences, and comfortable and confident, and that's why I'm talking about mine. And perhaps it's also possible that I'll mention something that you know but haven't heard about from anyone else. That's something that has repeatedly happened to me and to my friends, and it was always, or as far as I remember always, a very nice experience for me, a boost often. I mean, I don't need confirmation from another that my vision is correct, but it's nice. I mean, talking sharing such a human thing, isn't it? And when we're keeping something bottled up, that's usually not so good. So I appreciate it's not always easy to meet someone with whom one can talk about these things, but anyway. So I'll mention one example. After many years, or perhaps decades after I have seen a certain spacecraft, or actually saw myself on it, I suddenly online came upon a picture of the ship's interior where I was all those years ago, identical in great detail. And such a confirmation or a sharing was very nice. And it happened to me regarding several other ships and entities and places, technologies, insights, information, beings, races, etc. So I no longer doubt that I see what I see, but it's still nice to have someone seeing the same thing, to enjoy the sharing. So it's not just this, you're not mad, I've seen it too. But it helps, it's nice. So maybe I will talk about something that you have seen and haven't heard yet about or read. Who knows? There are so many types of beings in the universe. You know, the universe is kind of biggish, and I see new ones or hear about new ones, not exactly every day perhaps, but not too infrequently. And I know people who see or have seen the strangest things. So even if your experiences seem quite unique even after you listen to me or read my text or others, this doesn't necessarily mean that you are the only one. There are apparently people on Earth who are just one of two incarnated from a certain extraterrestrial race, such as Natalie Glasson. She seems to be one of them. And there is, as far as I know, just one person on Earth, or a couple, who receive information, who are capable of being in touch with a specific type of an advanced small-bodied race that I haven't heard about from anyone else, haven't read about them, a benevolent race, who seem to have a high degree of technological and scientific awareness, as well as kind and helpful disposition. And of course the awareness of the one source of all existence. And so maybe I'll talk about them, even though this one experience is not directly mine, it was narrated to me. They seem to be able to travel in time, or rather manipulate time to be more exact, very easily, but I would say that that should be par for the course for every aware and even moderately advanced race. So maybe I'll talk about them later. Anyway, don't be afraid of what you see. Scrutinize, yes, research, verify, especially within, with your heart, with your feelings. But not only online. There's quite a bit of misinformation there, maybe 95% of all the information that's there. So let your heart guide you. But don't be afraid of anything. Unless, of course, you wish to experience fear. That's fine too. Are our visions and experiences real? Are they true? I perhaps would like to address later those two questions that some of us seem to be asking now and then. And the main reason, of course, why I'm writing or talking about my experiences like this is that I'm enjoying it and it feels right. And so, till next time, blessings to you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. And namaste.